My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
And it's returned. Comics Compared is back. Now, this one's interesting. Because...
Tell me why it's interesting,
Tell
Fraser.
me why. Well, because I wrote this back when we were doing Comics Compared regularly. And I've only done a few touch-ups whilst we were playing music. So there is potential that halfway through I might go, nope, that's not relevant anymore, that's not. So if there is brief pauses, that's because
you're panicking desperately.
Yeah, and gone, oh no, that's got cancelled. Yep, that's not happening anymore. They're out as this character, they're not this. But I think I've managed to cover the basis. So fingers crossed. But yes, this is Comics Compared, where we take a look at either a film, TV show, video game adaptation, whatever it may be, and we compare it to its comics counterpart. Now, with Shazam out this week, we're going to be looking at a film from the DCEU. Now, just to set this in perspective, originally I had written down that since it's been a year since its release, so November. So I was gonna do this in November.
18 months. Then.
So it's now April. But the better tie-in is that Shazam's out. Because this time around, we're going to be looking at the film Justice League, so potential spoilers ahead. Although if you've not watched it, it's been 18 months.
If you've not watched it, don't bother.
I don't blame you as well, to be fair.
Don't bother.
You probably heard all the bad press and was like,
it was alright.
Not. Now, let's look at the team. It's a big team up film, so let's start there. There are many, many, many different versions of the team in the comics due to new members coming around, deaths, members being lost in time and or space, and of course, crises, because that's a big part of DC.
Many, many crises.
Yes. So we'll stick with the founding teams, as this is mostly relevant to the film. You know, it's an origin film. There was supposed to be more, but we won't talk about that. There probably was supposed to be more when I originally wrote this, but...
Yeah.
In the original continuity of the comics, the team consisted of Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman, The Flash, Green Lantern Hal Jordan, and Martian Manhunter. Now, recently in DC, they introduced a new line called New 52, restarting their universe. This isn't the most recent restart, though. They've actually restarted again with Rebirth, but this is the one that was sort of like, okay, it was a big welcome for new readers and sort of brought in new people into it. I started with New 52, and that's how I got into DC. If you want to get into DC now, I'd recommend Rebirth for that same purpose. But yeah, so they restart the universe with New 52. This happens quite a lot in DC, as I mentioned. It's a recurring word in their events is crisis, like we mentioned before. If you read,
it's almost become a trope, hasn't it?
Yeah, if you're reading the title with this in the name, chances are you're reading the end of DC's current universe, and it's going to get restarted. Looking at you guys, Heroes in Crisis there. Which is funny, because that line was in November, and it's still relevant now, reading Heroes in Crisis. The New 52 is a bit different. The event didn't have Crisis in the name. In fact, it was a well-known event called Flashpoint. A couple of people will know that. You know, the teleseries did a version of it. The film was supposed to do a version of it. We don't know anymore. And
talked about
of course,
didn't we?
Yeah. It was a big comic event. There's a cool animated film to check it out. But basically, Flashpoint restarted it all. It was supposed to just be a solo Flash story, but then at the end they went to Jeff Johns and like, actually, we want to reset our universe. This would be a really good way to do it. And in this story, Barry Allen goes back in time to save his mum. And he does save his mum, but then the universe is a bit messed up. He has to unsave his mum, and then it looks like the universe is fixed, but it wasn't. We got the New 52, and the New 52 is very much like the DCE universe. It acts like the Ultimate Universe with the MCU. It's like Marvel created the Ultimate Universe, and then as sort of like a new way to bring in audiences, and DC did the same with New 52. There was some mixed reviews with New 52, because a lot of it was a complicated thing, because it was 5 years old, and like it happened for 5 years. It was very complicated. But basically, within 5 years, Batman had 4 Robins. One of them, Robin became Nightwing. We had a Nightwing, a Red Hood, and a Red Robin all in those 5 years. So a lot got condensed down. And then it wasn't clear what was in the continuity and what wasn't. But it was, for me, it was a good way to jump onto DC. I started reading New 52, and then I read stuff before, read stuff afterwards, and then sort of realised, maybe New 52 wasn't as good as the other stuff. But the New 52 team featured Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan again, and Cyborg, which is
that's the classic team, right?
No, this is a new team. It's closer to the one we see in the film, but it's... And now, oh my goodness, And now in Rebirth, it's a very similar lineup, but instead of one Green Lantern and it being Hal Jordan, we have 2 Green Lanterns, Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, who are really cool characters to check out. They have their own series, Green Lanterns. I'd highly recommend it. However, this film doesn't feature a Green Lantern on the team anyway. There is a cameo in a flashback scene, which I saw the Green Lantern ring and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then there was kind of a glimmer of hope that he would appear later in the film. He didn't.
It was definitely a fanboy moment that there is a Green Lantern in this DCEU.
Exactly, it got your hopes up. It's interesting as well because original posters for the film had the slogan "Unite the Seven," so it seems like the original lineup had either a Green Lantern or a Martian Manhunter, and there was going to be 7. It could also be, a lot of it was with Jason Momoa's Aquaman character, so they were saying maybe the 7 Seas now. It's sort of like a mini retcon for the poster. But I've got a question sort of for you, Mark, and for the fellow geeks, is what modern Green Lantern would you like to see in film? Would you want to see these 2 Green Lanterns? Would you want to see Hal Jordan? Maybe you want to see Guy Garner? Maybe you want to see Kyle Rayner?
For me, I think it's Hal Jordan because that's the classic.
John Stew. John Stew was a big one in the animated series.
It's just... all of those are cool and all those can be brought in, but I think Hal Jordan needs to be... He's the original. He's the classic. I think particularly in a DCEU where they're struggling. Let's be honest. They're making a lot of mistakes. It's maybe not time to take a risk. It's time to bring in the classic Green Lantern that everyone knows.
Well, they tried that, and it's, with the Ryan Reynolds one, and it's sort of like, it left them a bit burnt out. I like the film.
That's because it wasn't written so well.
That's because I've got poor taste when it comes to films, I think. If it's something I enjoy, I'm gonna like it. I know, like, I really do enjoy Green Lantern, and I was gonna enjoy the Green Lantern film anyway. But they're doing talks about a buddy cop movie with the 2 Green Lanterns, John Stew and Hal Jordan, and I'd really like that. John Stew's a big one because so many people grew up with the animated series. John Stew is seen by a lot of people as their Green Lantern, and he is a really good Green Lantern. But I feel like I want to see almost all the Green Lanterns because they all bring something different to holding that Green Lantern ring.
Yeah, so I think that's fair.
Maybe the way the DC universe is going now, where it's all separate worlds, I would love separate stories in this big world. I would love them to focus on Green Lanterns and all the different Green Lanterns, and then maybe introduce them into the into a Justice League 2 if they ever do it, which is kind of glad we didn't see a Green Lantern here, because I was like, I want to see them in their own world, especially now thinking retrospectively, seeing all the success of Aquaman being separate, Wonder Woman being separate, Shazam being separate. I would love to see Green Lanterns be separate, but I still kind of want to see the Justice League team up and be all cool. But to go back to the comparison,
yeah, good point.
In this film, the parademons are fallen enemies of Steppenwolf, transformed by apocalyptic energy. Pretty cool. In the comics, they serve one purpose: to serve Lord Darkseid. In the original continuity, they were made in labs. However, in the New 52, they are made of repurposed material from fallen enemies. Again, the film sort of goes more towards the New 52 stuff. Steppenwolf, in the original continuity, was Darkseid's uncle and worked for him. The New 52 version was not related, but still worked for Darkseid as like his trusted general. Salute away. And it's clear that Warner Bros. DC were leading to a bigger bad in Darkseid. this film for the longest time was supposed to be like part one of 2 films. However, it definitely doesn't look like that's going to be the case anymore, and Darkseid did get swept under the rug, basically.
He got a bit jobbed, didn't he?
Exactly. Now, a cool thing they do mention in the comics is the Atlantean and Amazon War. It's only mentioned in the films, but this actually happened in Flashpoint in the comics, and it was sick. Like, but there was some relationship. There was like a love triangle between Mera, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman, and it created this big war. There was loads of murders, and it was an epic backdrop into the Flashpoint story. Like, incredible. It was an amazing thing of like, you think it would just be a Flash story with Justice League characters at the end, and it wasn't. Everyone got their own sort of story beat and stuff like that, and each character got their moment, which is why I was always like, it's weird that that's going to be the Flash film. I sort of wanted Flash to get his own film first, which he probably will now. Like we say,
yeah, but not with Ezra. What's his face?
Ezra Miller now, which is again will be a nice point to start off with. Like, restart, tell your Flash stories, and then maybe do a Flashpoint. Who knows? Now let's talk about the resurrection of Superman. Happened very quick in the film, but there was no black suit or mullet, no beard, none of that. That's what we got in the 90s, a black-suited, bearded, mulleted Superman.
All about the mullets.
He even got a moustache removed, Henry Cavill.
Wow.
But yeah, he was a bit angry for a bit, but, you know, Lois was the key. They sort of alluded to it. Now, let's talk about the post-credit scenes, because they were glorious. The Superman and Flash race has become a regular occurrence in the comics. It started in, like, 1967.
Gosh.
And it's been in all media's, continuities, universes, Earths, between, like, the original 2 and alternative versions of the characters, including, like, both of their families. So, like, the youngest, the Superboy, Kid Flash have all fought against each other. The scores, though, has seemed to be settled. And now it says recently on here, so it was in November, in Rebirth's Flash 49, Sup went not one-on-one, but goes against the 2 Flashes, and they prove to be way too fast for him. Like, Superman's trying to catch him, and they end up, like, winding the hero, like he's actually out of breath. So it's sort of, at least in the Rebirth continuity, sort of gone, yeah, Flashes now, they're so high-powered and so fast, they actually make Superman a bit gassy. I'm blowing, mate, I'm blowing. Batman, get him. If you're blowing, what do you think I'm going to do? Throw a batarang at him? That's a little conversation I'd like to think would feature in a comic I would write.
Yeah, a comic you would write, maybe.
Now, the other post-credit scene was the Injustice League. We see Lex and Deathstroke sort of doing like their meet-up, which is really cool and sort of like got me excited for the future. I don't know whether they're going to touch on that anymore. But other members in the comic include the Joker, Killer Croc, who were introduced in the Suicide Squad film.
True.
Don't know if they're going to touch on them anymore with the way the Suicide Squad's going. So.
Who knows?
As well as Cheetah, who's going to be the villain in Wonder Woman 84, so that's definitely happening. And recently we've had Black Manta and Dr. Shiva, who have both been introduced in Aquaman and Shazam, so they were the villains for that. So again, we say that they've been these individual stories, but there is this potential to bring them all together for an Injustice League film. I think they're
probably pacing themselves, aren't they?
Which is,
after they got burnt by Justice League, they're
the way to do it. Yeah. It's the way to do it. Interestingly enough, this team, the Injustice League team, took a heroic turn in the New 52's Forever Evil storyline, defending their Earth against Earth-Free's crime syndicate, which consists of like evil alternative versions of well-known DC superheroes. So, like, there's an evil Batman, evil Supes, and all that. It's quite good to see them as heroes, and it's interesting to see the tables twist over. Now, we're done here. I've mentioned a lot of different comics in this comparison, all of which I recommend checking out, especially if you enjoyed this film or if you want to delve in more into DC. Maybe this film left you with a sour taste in your mouth, but you've been enjoying what DC have been doing recently, and you're like, I actually want to read some good Justice League stuff. I want to refreshen my taste for Justice League, and hopefully we'll get to see it in the future. There we go. As always, with adaptations, there's going to be similarities, differences, and always, comparisons.
For listening to Geek of the Week. Be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.